Hello and welcome to another Legal Briefs Crypto Edition. Today, Gary Gensler had his confirmation hearing to become the head of the SEC and perhaps the most important person in the U.S. economy, next to Powell, of course. And our good senators had a chance to ask some deep, probing, hardball questions of this appointee, and here they go.
Who owns the corporation? Do the managers own it? Who owns it?
The shareholders.
Soft ball. So today we are going to discuss Mr. Gensler's testimony, whether we can gather anything of note from it, which I believe we can, and we will talk about the SEC risk alert that was issued last week, which I read with some consternation. I kind of apologize. I was debating how to approach this vlog. I never like to come across as too negative, but the truth is that the risk alert issued last week, along with Gensler's testimony today, is really a disappointment to me. I see a lot of clouds on the horizon in the crypto world. We are going to talk about why I felt this hearing and the risk alert that was issued last week was a disappointment for the crypto community. And then at the end, if you are an XRP holder, I want to step back and look at the XRP forest from the regulation trees and tell you, the XRP holder, why a bad SEC might be good for XRP. But first, a quick disclaimer. Please don't take anything I say as legal or financial advice. If you want some good legal advice, please go back in time and hire her. Put her name in the comments if you're a 90s child. Did you know that there are more women in law school now than men? Simply amazing how times have changed. And anyway, the big confirmation hearing was today, and as we know, the big issue before the SEC and the United States of America is what will happen to the internet of the financial world, blockchain and decentralized ledgers. And so if you watched the hearing and you didn't fall asleep and were just listening for mention of Bitcoin or blockchain like I was, you would have waited until 1 hour and 15 minutes into the hearing before the first question or comment on it. And here it was, the first crypto question, and it was actually a very good question. And the answer, exactly what I didn't want to hear.
At the same time, I know that our outdated crypto regulatory regime is leading other organizations like the Diem Association to set up shop overseas. What can Congress and the SEC do to create a more forward-thinking regulatory environment for innovators in this particular space?
Senator, thank you for having met with me and for that question. I think as I teach at MIT on these subjects, that these innovations have been a catalyst for change. Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies have brought new thinking to payments and financial inclusion, but they've also raised new issues of investor protection that we still need to attend to. And so I think if confirmed at the SEC, I'd work with fellow commissioners to both promote the new innovation, but also at the core, ensure for investor protection. If something were a security, for instance, it comes under the securities laws, it comes under the SEC. If there's exchanges that trade those, to ensure that there's the appropriate investor protection on those exchanges. So promote technology, but still stay true to our core values of investor protection and capital formation.
Notice the non-answer and twist. The question in general was about overregulation of the crypto world and how would he change the SEC in order to keep crypto companies from leaving the country to friendlier jurisdictions. And how did Gensler answer? He threw out a platitude. We'll work to develop the technology, blah, 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 but then spun the question and really answered about how the SEC under him will work to protect investors from the companies and will work to protect investors from the crypto exchanges as well. Protecting investors is all well and good unless you regulate an industry so much it disappears, and then you have no more investors to protect. But Gensler didn't want to address where that fine line was, and in the next question, we understand why. The next question about digital assets didn't come until the 2-hour mark, but it was the most important, and it was the senator from Tennessee who asked the question. Now, listen closely and see if you can catch what Gensler is throwing at us.
If you could share your perspective on the SEC's role under your leadership, if you're confirmed, and how you will approach digital assets.
Senator, I thank you for that opening. I share your thoughts. It's always important to update our market oversight to new technologies, but I believe foremost to be technology neutral. And I say this because if there's new technology and of cryptocurrency and potentially central bank digital currencies comes along, that it's important to stay true to our principles of investor protection and capital formation, but at the same time be technology neutral. So I think that at the SEC, it's really to the extent that somebody is offering an investment contract or a security that's under the SEC's remit, and they have exchanges that operate there, then we have to make sure there's investor protection. If it's not that, it's a commodity, as Bitcoin has been deemed to be, then it's either a question for Congress, how Congress would want that to be overseen, or it's possibly a question for the Commodity Futures Trading Commission.
Apply the law in a technology neutral way. Now, what does technology neutral mean in bureaucracy speak? It means that Gensler is saying that he is not going to treat cryptocurrencies any different than any other security. Technology neutral means that he and his organization are going to treat blockchain and decentralized ledgers like any other sort of company, like any other security, that he will not allow for any leeway for blockchain related tokens or coins. For a Gensler SEC, the XRP coin is exactly the same as those 10 shares of stock certificates your grandfather kept in his sock drawer. But really, Mr. Gensler, what about this wonderful new technology that you are so intimate with? We are losing this battle with other countries. Surely there is some change you can make at the SEC to help the technology flourish, right? In Wyoming, they've done it, and look what happened. Ripple opened a new company in Wyoming. And here's the senator from Wyoming to ask that exact question. Surely he will tell us now.
In some quarters, the SEC has a reputation for being a black hole for innovators. Do you agree that we need to provide more legal clarity through rulemaking and no action letters to innovators in the digital asset space and in the blockchain industry specifically?
Senator, I thank you. I thank you for our conversation in the last week on these matters and others. I do think that technology and markets constantly change and evolve, and that it's important for the SEC to provide guidance and clarity. Sometimes that's a clarity that will be thumbs up, but even if it's thumbs down, it's important to provide that, whether it's through guidance or no action letters, as you mentioned.
I don't know if you're aware of this, but Wyoming was the first in the U.S. to enact consumer protection laws for digital assets, including virtual currency. That happened in 2019. What are some of the ways we can work together to ensure consumer protection for digital assets that doesn't also hamper innovators?
Senator, I was aware. I think that your legislature and governor enacted 13 separate acts in the digital space in Wyoming. I think it's important to protect consumers and investors. One area of consumer protection is around the custody of their funds, digital assets. The actual ownership relies on something called a private key in cryptography, and ensuring that that's really that custody. I think also investor protection, which goes beyond just the custody of assets, but to ensure that these markets are free of fraud and manipulation.
So no, still no answer about how the SEC can help blockchain technology companies rather than just put a thumb on them, ostensibly to protect investors. And how protected do you feel by the SEC right now? Now, I know that in his written opening statement, Gensler said that technology is changing and our rules have to change with them. But as far as his answers to what I thought were some very pointed questions, I was very disappointed. So disappointed, in fact, that I went back and watched some of Mr. Gensler's old videos, and then I really just felt not very smart. There's something called confirmation bias, and I honestly think that I fell prey to it. I believed that the SEC regulatory scheme was or will really hurt the US crypto business space, and so when I watched the prior statements from Mr. Gensler, I simply failed to take his words at face value, and that's really on me, not on him. He has been frightening consistent for a long time. Look at this from 2019.
I don't think the SEC is going to let many ICOs off the hook. I think they're going to scare the market and enforce the market, try to bring it into compliance.
And there it is. He's been saying it for years now, and well, I just couldn't or wouldn't hear it. According to Gensler, the SEC is going to scare companies into compliance, and that will be through litigation and threat of litigation. Now, this position is consistent with what I've told you in my vlog titled, "The SEC is Coming for Your Crypto." The SEC has been building case authority for the last couple of years, stretching the definition of what a security is to include everything, including Ethereum. Notice how he singled out Bitcoin as a non-security but didn't mention Ethereum. And that position that Gensler is telling us about, that they're going to scare the market into compliance, is unfortunately very consistent with what happened late last week with the issuance of the SEC Risk Alert Bulletin. Before I tell you how scary and disappointing the Risk Alert is, let me just reiterate how the SEC will approach enforcement of cryptocurrencies. It will not be by sending you and me scary letters or suing us, the investor. That would look bad. And even the SEC can't sue 100,000 individual investors. No, the SEC will go after the big players where a handful of lawsuits can affect, and in the SEC's mind, protect, the 100,000 investors. So last week, the SEC released this alert, and it's addressed to investment advisors, broker-dealers, and of course, securities exchanges. So let's take a look and see why this is so scary. First, on the first page in footnote 1, notice that the SEC doesn't even play on a level playing field. Nothing in the risk alert, which is really a warning letter, is binding on the SEC. Nothing. But here's the main point of this letter to me. Look at what, for example, the SEC is putting the burden on investment advisors to do. That's on page 2. The investment advisor must do, quote, due diligence on digital assets, close quote, including whether they are classified as securities. So in effect, it's the SEC's position that an investment advisor, before he or she recommends you purchase, for example, Ethereum, is now responsible for investigating whether it is a security or not. And if he or she doesn't, he or she risks losing his license because he's not fulfilling his legal responsibilities to you. Also look at footnote 3. The advisor is also now responsible for understanding and performing due diligence on the effect of a forked or airdropped digital asset. These demands simply can't be met by most investment advisors. Now, same with the exchanges. Look at page 7. The SEC investigations are now going to go into whether the SEC believes any securities are being sold on the exchange. And if you are selling XRP or any other coin that the SEC believes is a security, why haven't you registered with us yet so we could regulate your business? Now, this letter is notice that the exchanges better start getting ready to be able to answer those questions. Does this risk alert look like an SEC regulatory body that is welcoming of new technology? And let's contrast this warning letter to what is going on in Europe, for example. The European Union is talking about exemptions from existing rules which allow regulators and companies to test innovative solutions utilizing blockchains. They even call it a sandbox, where regulators, companies, and tech experts can come together to test innovative solutions and identify obstacles that arise in deploying them. Wow, does that sound technology neutral to you, like what Gensler was talking about? Not at all. It sounds like a regulatory framework that allows a new and genetically different technology from the past to have some leeway and a feeling that the regulators are working with them instead of trying to get them. And if you have a new crypto-based startup and you could start it anywhere you want in the world, would you want to start it under threat of litigation and economic disaster? Or would you want to start it in the European sandbox? I know I had a very negative response to the hearing today. When I outlined this vlog, I didn't read anything anyone else had written or said. I did that on purpose because I don't want to be influenced by that, but instead I want to be honest with how I react to something. But now I have read some other people's responses and I realize not everyone had the same negative impression that I did. And the truth is, I hope I'm wrong. But I didn't like it, and I don't like what it could mean for the future of the crypto business in the United States, but I do want to leave you with one positive takeaway, and this is only for the XRP crowd. Last week and this week's events make me feel like from this point, there will be only more lawsuits by the SEC in the crypto space. I feel it's coming. But like I mentioned before, the SEC only has one shot at each company. If the SEC loses this lawsuit against Ripple, it doesn't get a second shot. So I have an analogy for you. Let's say you have a bully in your high school class. He's a big guy, 16 years old, he already has a full beard, benches 300 pounds, puts steroids in his butt after PE, and he's determined to beat up all the guys in his class. Do you want to be the first one he beats up or the last one? You want to be the first because you will heal, the black eye will go away, and then you can move on with the business of your life. If you're the last one he beats up and you know it's coming, it's going to affect you every day with worries. You're going to be hiding during lunchtime. No one's going to want to be around you because it's too much chance he's going to get in the middle of your pounding. So it's the worst to be last. And with that analogy in mind, I would suggest that XRP is in a better position than most other coins because XRP is taking its lickings right now, although it sucks right now, it's going to be over by October, and then Ripple will move on with its life. I don't feel like what I saw today is suggestive of an agency head who is going to back off this litigation with Ripple. I had thought so before. Maybe I was just projecting my own thoughts onto Gensler, but I saw no evidence of that today. Now, that doesn't mean a settlement can't or won't happen. I just think the chances of it happening before the close of discovery in August are much slimmer for me, because I don't think Gensler has the mindset to make it happen. As always, thanks for watching. As the warrior philosopher Chukwulata said, to deny the existence of the sun does not allow you to escape its blister. When you see the evidence, believe it, and only then will you know how best to act. Best of luck.